This is Midneyet from the Realm of Books podcast, and you're listening to Azeroth Roundtable.
John.
Ben.
I thought her name was Midneyet.
I know, this is embarrassing. I've been calling her by the wrong name for, ever.
So she's not Russian?
I guess not. You two have single-handed, or double-hand, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, have
quadruple-handedly.
Yeah, everyone now calls me Midneyet, so...
Yay!
That's good.
I've had people correct me on my own name, so I think it's sticking. Well done.
Oh, well, good.
That was our goal. We like to make sure that people go by the personas that we come up with for them.
Mm-hmm. It's important.
Rather than the ones they pick themselves. So, yes, I will probably always say Midneyet, even when I'm not doing my terrible fake Russian accent. I'm going to...
And I hope you always do.
All because
Midneyet.
I read it wrong once, which was so great. Welcome to Azeroth Roundtable, episode 114. My name is Ben Bumhofer, and with me, as always, is John Jagger. How's it going, John?
It's going good, Ben. We're recording on a completely different night than usual.
I know! And why is that?
So here's the thing. Hi, everybody. Let's take a moment to let's talk about dates. And I'm not talking about the thing that almost killed Indiana Jones and did kill a monkey.
Are you talking about the thing that you want to do Friday nights? Or Saturday
I'm talking
nights?
about dates as in dates of the week.
On a calendar?
On a calendar, yeah, that's it. So here's the thing. Ben and I, on Friday, we had a weird little epiphany. I had an epiphany. I roped Ben into it. Which was, I was under the impression that the Q&A that was coming up with Blizzard was going to be this Saturday.
As in today?
As in today, the day we are recording right here, right now.
Whoa.
And because of this looming Q&A, and because we really don't want to talk about that other topic anymore, there hasn't been a lot of news. There hasn't been a lot to talk about besides that stuff. So I told Ben, hey, the WoW community's been kind of down lately because of, a lot of this stuff that's going on. Why don't we have a night where we just play the game, do whatever, stream a little bit, have some fun, and then we'll record tomorrow after the Q&A, and maybe there'll actually be news to talk about.
Yeah.
So we tweeted out what we were going to do. We set the plans. We were all ready to go.
Don't forget, well, first of all, Midneyet, thank you very much for joining us, and I'm sorry for interrupting your story, John, to welcome her.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
So,
Whatever day of the week it is.
Well, thank you. Part of that whole reshuffling and everything was checking with her to make sure she was good with it, and luckily you are one of the most flexible guests that we've had, so thank you for that. So we really do appreciate it.
Really? Well,
yeah.
I don't mind at all.
Yeah, so Midneyet said it was okay. Ben said it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to say before I get thrown under the bus as the person who got the date completely wrong, just for clarification that I'm not the only person who did not know the correct date, when I said I have a change of plans for the show, Ben, you did say move it back to Saturday so it's after the Q&A.
I did say that under the impression of I am at work and really busy, so I can't even look, so I'm going to trust John and all of his date knowledge.
Well, I was also at work and really busy and couldn't double check.
I was totally probably home, and I could have checked, but I just decided to trust Ben, who trusted John.
Yeah. Trust the quote-unquote professionals.
It was it was the chain of trust that fell apart. So here's the deal. That Q&A is next Saturday.
Yes.
Which we are going to have to figure out what we're going to do with regards to that. Because let me tell you, when you already don't know what you're going to do with the show, and then you have to do a show anyway, but then you realize you're going to have to do another one, and if it's before that Q&A, you're going to have to fill time again, we might have to change the recording date next week as well.
Yeah.
Which I think we've already decided we're going to do, but we'll let you know, loyal listeners, what we do.
But beside all that, Midneyet, thank you so much for joining us on the show this week.
Well, you're welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I mean, you are awesome. You always wrangle our chat room, and you're always very nice. And you welcomed me into the CTR Guild, so I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. One of us. And I am an AIE, though I don't show up there too often yet.
Well, that's okay. I don't show up in CTR too often. So, we're even. We balance it out.
Yeah, we're
two sides of an equation.
And to make sure
Absolutely.
this table stays as balanced as possible, I don't show up anywhere ever.
Yeah, that's so true. But Midneyet, what have you been up to, either in or out of WoW?
Lately, okay, well, yeah, speaking of CTR, I'm a greeter, so I'm part of the welcoming team there, the officer team, and we're the ones that, check the applications and then invite people, and there's a huge volume of that, believe it or not. So I'm actually required to put in some hours every week. Not too many, but so that's pretty much the main reason I've been logging into WoW, to check my garrison, and do greeter hours.
Mm-hmm.
And to fill the rest of that time up lately, I started doing pet battles because I figured it'd be a good way to make gold for my token, because I've decided to go that route with the sub. And so that's the extent of my wowing lately, is kind of like fill up time that I'm doing invites. And the rest of the time has been spent in heroes largely, which I am totally addicted to right now, and I should be hitting level 40 probably tomorrow. So I'm
Very
pretty
cool.
excited about that. Yeah. My goal was to get that done before the official launch, because I think you get a portrait for that.
Oh, really?
Yes, you do. You get a special version of the beta portrait.
Well,
Right.
crap.
There's still time, Ben.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do 22 levels before June 2nd. Yeah, no
Well,
count sharing for me. No.
Maybe.
John, I have a job.
Ben, if it makes you feel any better, it's not a very good portrait.
I know. I would probably never use it anyway.
John, that does not make me feel any better. Thanks.
Well, I mean, hey, you get the sense of accomplishment. Ben gets the feeling of, well, I didn't miss out on much.
So, good job, Midneyets. Ben, it's okay.
Thank you. Thank you. What have you guys been up to?
John, I'll let you go first.
Well, last night, Ben, you and I threw down in an epic race through the raids.
I
Or as we're calling it on the YouTube channel, the Art Amazing Race, or the Amazing Art Race, I think. I named it, but I can't remember what I called it. Something like that.
Did we paint the town red with that art race?
We did, while we were in Tempest Keep, because it's very red in there.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, we raced through Tempest Keep, and we raced through Ice Crown, which if you want to see that race, you can see it on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/AzerothRT. We also had a pet battle thrown in there for good measure. You will all be very happy to know that our local resident pet expert, Ben, won that battle.
Yay.
Yeah,
it was with a team that I didn't actually pick. It was what I used to fight the garrison pet battle that day.
Yeah, I don't know where my team came from. I have no idea why those were the pets that I currently had. So, it was really weird. One was level 23, the others were, I think, 25.
Yeah,
I don't
they're
remember.
both 25.
But, it reminded me I really like pet battles. I don't do it nearly enough, but I do enjoy it when I do.
They are a lot of fun.
The only part where it falls apart for me for pet battles is when you have to go out and train a very specific composition to do something.
Right.
Because I am very much from the Pokemon school of Pokemon, and I kind of want to just fill my team with stuff I like and go with that.
Well, the funny story behind that is if you've been listening to Battle Pets ever, you would know that pretty much my entire team up through 1 to 25, fighting every single trainer except for like one of them, was a Phoenix Hatchling, a Warg Pup, and my Snowy Owl. I don't know how I did it, but I defeated pretty much every tamer with just that
Composition.
Thank you. It's been a very long day, everybody. I'm going to slur, I'm going to say wrong words, and I'm going to sound even more idiotic than I usually do. So just a warning there. But yeah, that composition for pretty much every single battle. So, John, you can play Pokemon.
Well, see, and that's how I did the trainers, but then you get into, okay, well, now I want to go and defeat all the Pandaria spirits, or I want to beat Undasta, like little tiny Undasta, whatever he's called, that sort of stuff. And when you get into that stuff, I think you have to have a specialized team for it, right?
See, I couldn't, like, I only really started pet battling in the last, like, maybe 2 or 3 months, and, I found, like, I had, like, a bunch of pets I'd accumulated over the years, but hadn't really put any time into leveling them, and so when I got those Garrison level 25 stones to upgrade, I very carefully picked which ones to upgrade, and then I found, like, right now I'm at the part where I need to fight all the Pandaria trainers, and up until now, like, I've really had to go out and find certain pets or, for sure from certain families to be able to beat the other trainers. It was hard. Like, I don't know how you made it with just those 3 pets for that whole time. It blows my mind.
Either luck or magic. I'm not entirely sure which.
Well, you are a mage, and we have established on the show that you're pretty lucky, so it could be a little bit of both.
That's true.
I don't know, John, you were pretty lucky last night, but that's spoilers.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and spoil the video. That's up on youtube.com/EzrathRT. You can go there and you can watch this race where we picked raids to race through that had mounts and stuff that could drop. Because, why not? If you're going to race, you might as well try and get something out of the deal as well. So as we were racing through Tempest Keep, we actually did the same order, which was we took down the Phoenix, then we took down the Void Reaver, Fel Reaver, whatever that one is called in particular. And then we went over to Kael'thas, and so he was actually the third instead of the final boss for us. So when I downed Kael'thas, I right-clicked him and immediately started running to the next boss. And we're talking and we're chatting, and about the time we're getting to the entryway to the boss, I just glanced down at the window where I keep the log of, all my loot and stuff like that, and I see Ashes of Alar has been looted. And you can even hear it in the video where I just, all of a sudden, I'm just like, I just looted the Ashes of Alar, I guess.
Yay!
I had no idea, because I just right-clicked, it did the auto-loot, and I ran out. And for some reason, I assumed it would look like a really unique, crazy item to denote that it was a super rare mount or something like that. And it doesn't. It just looks like a regular purple drop. So it didn't stand out in any way, and I realized that kind of mid-run that I got it. But very excited to have that mount. That's a very cool mount. Even if it will hurt your eyes while you fly.
Yeah, and unfortunately my lucky streak on the Ashes of Alar mount has broken, because so I did that every single week. I got the mount, and then I never went back. And then it was I think it was 2 weeks ago on our fun run for Furt, we went into Tempest Keep. So, it was the second time that I've been in there since I got the mount, or the first time, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it dropped again for someone else. So that's 2 times in a row that Ashes dropped, which is like, insanely statistically not ever going to happen again. And then the fact that it kind of dropped on a run that I was on again was really weird. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like super lucky with that now.
So basically, I need to convince you to run in there with me, and it will drop for certain, like 100% certainty.
I will say it will drop 99%.
Yeah, and if it doesn't, you were just, shucks, it was that 1%, I guess.
Exactly.
Great, we need to make plans soon.
Okay, well, I've got an Alliance Mage, so we can totally
Because
do
that
it.
thing looks really cool in shadow form. And that is always my goal. Is it going to look cool in shadow form or not?
Well, you could always just get the Dark Phoenix.
I think I might have that one. I don't know.
But if you shadow form while riding a Dark Phoenix, it becomes a black hole and you die.
Yeah, that's true. You really don't want to do that.
Ro, I think, exploded in the chat room when...
Yeah, there were a number of people that did not react well to your casual attitude about receiving that loot.
Oh, I got a mount. Whoop-de-crap.
I mean, I was excited. Everybody should go review the tape at youtube.com/AzerothRT, and you should determine how, I think I was excited, but I mean, I was also in the middle of a race.
It was shock, really.
There was a lot
I
of
hadn't said it
surprise.
yet.
But I don't know. Maybe I just tend to be kind of low-key with that sort of thing, where it's like, yeah, cool.
The only thing worse that would have made people cry more is if you had already had it or didn't know what it was and either vendored it or just destroyed it in some way in front of everybody.
I wish that it dropped for me now.
I'll tell everybody. I was excited. I'm excited to have it. There's a reason I flew around on it for the remainder of the show.
Yes, that is true.
So, I mean, I was excited, but it drops. It is a thing that drops. So
multiple people own it, so therefore it does drop.
Yeah, eventually you're gonna get it. Eventually. I mean, not necessarily guaranteed, because RNG, there is a chance it never drops for you, but, for the most part, it's a thing that happens. It's a thing that happens to people.
Yep. Statistically, it will most likely drop for you at some point.
You know what I'm going to test during this show?
What?
Here's what I'm going to test. I'm going to see if this is a genuine luck thing that has caught on, or maybe if Ben's presence in general just makes us lucky. And slowly, bit by bit, so it's not disruptive, I'm going to see if I can get the friggin' horse in Karazhan to drop before the end of the show.
No, it's only with ashes. It's not with the horse, because I haven't gotten that yet.
Oh. Well, Ben, can you rub your luck stuff, whatever is lucky for you, and see if maybe it will be horse as well? Because I'd love that horse.
I would too. Once I get it, I can definitely help you with that.
Okay, good. I'm excited about that. I want the horse.
Okay.
Not more than the Ashes of Valar, but there's some characters that I think need that horse. So, plus I'm not convinced that exists. I believe in Ashes of Valar.
I've seen it drop. I was on a run where it dropped. I did not win that.
Okay, first of all, that is insane to believe, because Ben wins every roll for everything. Or everything that's a mount. Maybe it's because I wasn't there.
Possibly. If you were there, I would have gotten
it. Yeah, guaranteed. Anyway, so yeah, that's what we did in WoW, is that race. I haven't been able to raid with you guys. Tomorrow will not be different, although next week might be. But on that same note, I heard that you guys had an awfully good raid. So, Ben, what have you been up to?
Not raiding because of Comic-Con.
Oh, that's right, you weren't there. Crap. Well,
I do know, I did find out kind of why it was so much fun, and it's just, there were a couple extra people who have never raided with us before that were there, and we'll talk about that later.
Oh yeah, I did hear about that as well.
Yeah.
So that's
what
a big part of it.
And also, and a big part of it was Eludra's son came along, and people started getting grounded. That's all I'm going to say.
Wow. That's exciting. That makes for a good raid. Well, crap, Ben, I forgot you didn't get to raid this week because of Comic-Con. So what did you do this week, Ben?
Well, you remember those races that we just talked about?
It sounds familiar. Do you know if there's a place where I could maybe go watch it to see if I See if I remember it.
I'm sure if you went to youtube.com/AzrothRT, you could probably watch those races. But,
okay, cool.
So one of the things that we were trying to figure out for those races is where to go. And Dragon Soul was one of the, suggested places, which I would have been all for. In fact, I think next week we might want to do that. Because
That's going to be a competitive race.
Yeah.
Because I have yet to successfully solo Dragon Soul.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I cannot get the... Well, okay. There's a difference between I cannot get and I tried it once and went bleh and then asked people how to do it and they told me and I never went back anyway to try it. But, yeah, I haven't cleared it.
Okay.
Basically.
Well, then, you know what? I definitely have a leg up because I have been farming that, trying to get the Blazing Drake so that I can get the Emerald Drake from the achievement because that's the last one that I need. But, so yeah, I did that twice this week. And even though I got my Mimron's head from Ulduar, finally,
That's impressive.
Yeah, I was still a few of those pieces of the Legendary Hammer away from getting that. And even though I can never use it on my mage, I'm like, I can get it. So I went back in there to try to get it. I went in needing 3 pieces, and 2 dropped. So I'm 1 away. So hopefully I'll get a piece to drop next time I go in there, which is going to be sometime after Tuesday. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Valnir or Valinir or whatever it's called.
Yeah, something like that.
Something hammer.
Yeah,
I can actually use that on my monk, so I should actually probably go and try and get it.
Yep, go in there at 25 man. It's the only time they'll drop.
Okay, I will do that.
Yep, and last but not least, with the patch coming out at some point, whether it's this Tuesday, next Tuesday, or who knows when, I've been trying to save up my pet charms so I can buy the new pets as they come out, considering that you need 400 total for all 4 pets. Because 2 of them are for 50, one's for 100, and one's for 200. And with 3 max level, pet menageries, I'm doing okay with just doing those. I think I'm at like 200 or so, or pretty darn close. So I recommend doing that every day. But
yeah.
Other than that, I haven't been up to too much else. So let's go ahead and find out what's coming up in the news. News! What's coming up with the news, John?
Well, let me tell you about the news, Ben. No horse mount dropped.
Oh.
So, anybody who thought that was going to happen, it didn't.
You were wrong.
You were wrong. Okay, hey, everybody, let's talk about the news, or the severe lack of news, as it were. We've got a Q&A coming up, not today, as it would happen to be. It is coming up next Saturday.
Yes. Or this coming Saturday, since you'll hear this after Saturday.
That's true. So, Blizzard has gone kind of radio silent for the time being. And I mean, not that they were out there throwing out new information left and right in the previous weeks, but it definitely feels like they're kind of just holding course for now until they can kind of get out there and talk about 6.2 and all that stuff. This all kind of leads me to believe that maybe 6.2 is not dropping this Tuesday, but maybe next Tuesday following the Q&A.
That can make sense.
So, it's been kind of quiet. I think probably the biggest bit of news, if you are a warlock, or like new models of things, is through MMO Champion, they have revealed updated Warcraft demon models. Actually, in general, it's demon models, and they have since confirmed that, yes, the warlock models of these demons will also be getting updated. Did either of you see that?
I think I did. Midneyet, how about you?
Yeah, I was just looking it up because I heard about it earlier, but I didn't get to go check it out.
I think they look really good. I'm all for them updating models at any time. I think the Fell Puppy, or whatever you call it, I'm not a warlock. Neither is Ben. He hates warlocks.
I am not a fan.
So, I think that one has probably been the biggest increase of the bunch. It kind of went from looking like a Zerg in StarCraft to looking like its own unique entity at this point. And I think it looks pretty good. So, hey, Warlocks, you know how last expansion you got green fire? You're getting something this expansion too. What's it like to be Blizzard's favorite class?
Yeah, you also get to turn into a demon and have really cool tier sets.
I'm kidding, but I'm also kind of not. You guys keep getting awesome stuff. And yes, the sour grapes is just because the rest of us are jealous. So.
Oh my god, that Fellstalker actually does look different. That's actually really cool looking.
Yeah. So don't get mad that I said you were Blizzard's favorite class. Just
you are.
Bask in the glory that it is.
They totally are. Don't get me started on Shadow Priests. Ugh.
Hey, Shadow Priests are pretty awesome.
They are, but they don't get much love, so it's very frustrating at times.
That's because they're in a good place right now.
Okay.
They're in a good place right now is like the default answer for I don't want to talk about it.
Okay then, moving along.
Hey John, how are you doing right now?
I don't remember the default answer. I can't answer with it.
Would you say that you're in a good place right now?
I'm in a good place right now, Ben.
So you don't want to talk about monks, John?
I have no short-term memory. No, I don't want to talk about monks at all. Cause
they're in a good place right now.
We get nerfed every 10 seconds, and so I feel like I've gotten weaker as my item level goes up. It's a horrible, horrible feeling.
I somewhat understand having my monk is my main alt other than my Shadow Priest, so I'm feeling that too.
Yeah, I'm a fire mage. I totally get you.
Except for sometimes when I feel awesome, but not all the time, just occasionally.
50% of the time, I feel awesome every time.
There you go. That's the fire mage way. A lot of people think that this is perhaps, also indicating a direction for possibly for the next expansion. I don't necessarily think that. I think obviously with the story beat that, we've talked about it on the show, that there's going to be a lot of Fell and Burning Legion stuff coming up in the story. It makes sense for them to work on this, and obviously it's going to be something that they do eventually go back to, whether or not that's this next expansion or the expansion after. Obviously they'll want to revisit it at some point, so it makes sense to go ahead and update these models and make them look good. But I would be kind of shocked if the next expansion was a Burning Legion expansion.
Midneyet, what do you think it's going to be?
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard so many people talk about the possibilities for Burning Legion, but after... a lot of people, including myself, kind of thought they were not going easy on themselves by doing this whole, back in time Draenor thing, rehashing content, but I don't know if they would take that risk doing something so similar.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's they need some new content, and as some people, I had a lot of friends that quit when Pandaria happened or just before because they took one look at pandas and said nope and left and have not been back, actually.
That's a bummer.
And it is because that is actually, I started playing during Kata, which I enjoyed probably more than most people because it was my first one, but I loved Pandaria, and I liked that it was so different and the aesthetics were so great, and for me, going into Draenor, it's been kind of like... just kind of a downer in some ways because it's beautiful aesthetically. Shadow Moon Valley is gorgeous, but the rest of it is just kind of meh. I don't know. So I hope it's something totally different. Something just to kind of reinvigorate the community again, and I don't know.
Yeah,
what do you guys think?
Like something, I'd say Pandaria was definitely, it built on... a cultural aesthetic that was littered throughout the whole expansion. And you learned a lot about the Pandaren because of that. And I think that's one of the reasons why they turned out being, a really cool race. And it was a really fun expansion with actually a surprising dark story as well.
Right.
But because it was something that was, really brand new, it was just like a really big breath of fresh air for that. So, like, I'm sure I've said it before, but Pandaria is one of my favorite expansions as well. And a lot of it does come from, the aesthetic and the culture and everything. So I'm kind of with you on that. If they were to go to, like, I keep thinking that the next expansion is going to be Argus or whatever the heck that planet's called, where you're going to go there somehow. But I like the idea of seeing something, entirely new like Pandaria was, like you said.
So, the reason I said that I didn't think they would do Burning Legion stuff for the next expansion is because I thought, well, if they're ending this expansion with Burning Legion stuff, why would they do it again? But let me also point out that we ended last expansion with a crap ton of orcs, and then started this expansion with a crap ton of orcs. So you can't always use that as a guide, but hopefully they learned from orc overload that, hey, maybe go from one thing to a different thing instead of, go from... I mean, people have said Blackrock Foundry feels like Siege of Orgrimmar 2.0.
Yeah.
Right.
And hopefully they would get away from doing a whole bunch of patches and things about Burning Legion and then go right into an expansion focused entirely on the Burning Legion.
Well, maybe
I
if
think
we're
I'd
lucky... Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Nope,
I think I'd be happy with anything except anything new that does not involve orcs, and nothing against them. They're a wonderful race, but I've had enough. But anything other than, a whole underwater X-Pack, anything else would be great, because I can't stand Bashir. It's too much. So anything other than that, I'd be happy to see. I just want something different,
That's right, John.
Something
no
new
Bashir.
and exciting to explore.
Hey, I like Vashir. It's not for everybody. It's fine. I understand that there are people who don't appreciate the genius that zone is, or the other one that I hear a lot of, which is people saying that it just kind of makes them feel queasy because of the underwater effects.
Yeah, I have some motion sickness struggles sometimes, and that is an issue when I'm in that zone, which is very infrequently. But more than anything, I know it's silly, but I get PTSD from going into that zone, thinking about my terrible experiences growing up in the Mario water levels.
Oh my god! You
Where
just keep
I'm always
expecting a giant
panicking.
eel.
Yes. So that's truly why I don't like Bashir, because it makes me think of that, and I just want to cry.
Ben, I know you probably can't and won't, but if this entire section of the podcast could just have that water theme playing in the background, I would really appreciate it. That music is great, too, by the way.
It is great music. It is. It's just, I don't know, there's just something about it that stressed me out when I was younger, and it kind of stuck with me.
You know what I would like to see while we're on the topic of next expansion packs? Somebody actually put together a fake version of this, where they had a map laid out and all sorts of notes, and it looked very official. In fact, for a minute I thought, did Blizzard just announce their next expansion pack? But someone said it was going to be the Southern Isles. It wasn't this. This wasn't the water music I had then.
This is the one I was going with.
That's fun music, yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
So...
Thank you for that.
I mean, anything's better than the Sonic the Hedgehog underwater music when you're about to drown. Oh my gosh, you want to talk about giving someone panic attacks.
Oh, totally.
That music will give you panic attacks. Underwater music, though, is typically really good. Donkey Kong Country had amazing underwater music.
Metroid Prime, really good water music.
So, there you go. You're listening to the Underwater Level Music podcast. What was I saying? Oh, Southern Islands was a rumored area that we would go,
Yeah,
and that it would be a whole bunch of islands, and we would navigate around by having a ship that would kind of act as our, not exactly a garrison, but garrison equivalent, it would be kind of your hub would be this big ship that allowed you to sail between the islands and stuff like that. And I will say this, even though it is venturing ever so slightly into the topic we're not going to discuss, I can see where a nautically focused expansion pack I could potentially be okay with not having to fly around in.
I would be quite okay with that, as long as you get, like, a little boat, like in Wind Waker or something. I think that'd be really cool.
A King of Red Lion's boat.
Yeah. You can decorate your boat. Get different
He just keeps
sails.
talking to you.
So if we're having a nautical X-Pack next, that kind of makes sense that we're building ships at our garrison, huh?
Mm-hmm.
But see, and then again, that was the reason why I was like, well, now I don't think they're going to do it, because why would they go from a bunch of ship stuff to a bunch of ship stuff? But who knows? Maybe they will.
So it's going to be World of Warcraft Assassin's Creed 4.
Oh, there you go.
Awesome.
Because guess what? The ship stuff was great, and I didn't like the Assassin's Creed part. So if you replace the Assassin's Creed part with Warcraft, you've got an all-win right there.
And who doesn't like pirates? Plenty of opportunity there.
That'd be a great new class, or specialist class for like a rogue.
Ooh.
Like when everybody gets specialist class.
Swashbuckler!
It's always how I've seen my character, but there is no swashbuckling rogue option.
No, not yet.
Not yet. It's coming. It'll happen one day.
Exactly.
And
When we all get our...
They'll give us a... Oh man, what if they gave us all pirate-themed tier sets?
Oh my gosh!
Oh, that would be amazing.
Okay, that's it.
Freaking cool.
World of
Let's do
Warcraft, the Seven Seas.
Death Knights would get a sweet hook hand thing for like their death grip. That'd be cool.
That'd be awesome. Hunters would
Man,
finally get a really cool
this better
tier set.
happen.
Right?
Their shoulder pads are like a monkey and a parrot.
Oh yeah, totally. Like what if the armor actually had a parrot perched on it by
so
default?
Cool.
Like that's the special effect is the parrot just lands there
Flaps
and
its
it'll
wings.
occasionally take off and fly around your character and then land on it again.
You're right. This has to happen now, because I'm starting to feel sad at the possibility that it might not actually happen.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
The
That'd be
shoes you
so
get are,
great.
like,
You
one of
can
them's a
invite your
peg leg.
friends onto your ship, and then other people will pull up and try to board you. And that'd be like that could also be a cool PvP battleground type. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
maybe call it something different for like a quick little thing, and it's just a ship battle. The two ships pull up alongside each other, and you battle on them.
Yeah, and like for PvE, instead of the garrison invasions, it'll be
Yeah.
like a ship invasion.
And if you fall in the water, you get eaten by a giant eel.
Obviously.
Yep, giant eels. They're everywhere. Watch out.
Yeah, you gotta be careful for those.
All right.
Sorry, I'm starting to picture Mario fish in the ocean outside of your ship now.
Oh, that'd be great. Okay. Well, I think that's enough of news. Let's go ahead and take a seat at the round table. Shut it!
Round table.
And welcome to the round table, where we discuss in depth the issues that mean the most to us, the players. This week's roundtable topic is all about.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I don't know.
Ben, I found the water music.
I'm gonna have an ad, aren't I?
You are
Yep.
going to have an ad.
Yep.
I guarantee you.
There was an ad.
It's... There it is.
Yeah, that is not the music I was thinking of. The one that he found was.
That's
This one's
right.
very soothing.
It is. That's what threw you off, though, because it was playing this beautiful music, and then an eel came out of the cave and tried to eat.
Okay, start talking about StarCraft, and Erlina will totally fall asleep.
Yep. Good night, everyone. So the Hyperion leaves Torhall for Char, which is the Zerg homeworld.
Char!
You gotta listen to the...
Listen to the whole show,
Well,
folks.
I don't know if it's gonna be the latest episode of Current Geek, but the episode of Current Geek that Ben was on to get why me saying Char as the Zerg homeworld immediately sets Ben off.
Yeah. In all seriousness, though, because of the Q&A and everything, we really didn't come up with an idea for a topic because we thought, hey, Q&A. So we are going back through our email, and Erlina, sorry, I totally am,
We're
tired.
thinking of how we put Erlina to sleep, but
Yes.
she did not send us an email because she was asleep.
Yes, Alessandra did. Sent a few, actually, with a couple different topics. And there's two of them that I think that we can really kind of jump in and talk about. John, why don't you go ahead and talk about the first one? Read it, introduce it, all that fun stuff.
Sure thing. The first email says, "Hi, John. Hello. Hi, Ben.
Hi.
Heroes of the Storm has announced global play, allowing players to freely switch between regions, US, EU, Oceanic, via the launcher. Friends list, account progress, and rewards will not transfer. In-game property is not available across regions and cannot be moved from one region to another. Do you think this is a test and they could bring global to WoW in the next expansion? It would be useful to have on patch days and for raiders looking for more boss kill practice. Alessander."
Thank you very much for sending that.
Yeah. So global play is an interesting concept, and I am curious to see if it's going to expand to any other Blizzard properties. Heroes is kind of the most logical launching point for this, and the reason for that is because it is a free-to-play game. So basically, you can get in, you can change your region. If you want to go play on the EU servers, you just select it at the launcher, log in, and you're now essentially playing on an EU version. It's not a big deal because the game's free, so it's not like you're, cheating Blizzard out of the cost of buying the game again, because there's no cost. You would, however, have to pay for the heroes all over again, and unlocks and things like that. So they will be collecting money from you if this is a thing that you want to take advantage of.
Yeah. Now, Midneyet, did you see anything about this with Heroes or the last patch that actually came?
I didn't. I skimmed over the patch notes, but unless I totally missed it, I didn't hear anything about that.
Okay. Yeah, it's, I forget exactly where the button is, but you can actually choose whatever region you want to go to,
Oh,
which
nice.
is really cool and really handy, actually. One of the things that I've actually been able to, I can't think of the name. Hold on. There we go. Okay, so something that I've actually been able to experience, which was really cool. A week or so ago, I was waiting to actually do the show, and I had some time. I hopped in some Heroes, and I was able to play with Sarah and Jocelyn, and also James. James is a friend of ours. He actually lives in England, and he's been playing Heroes a whole bunch on his EU server and everything. And when this was implemented, he got to just hop right over, and he was playing with us. The downside is that all the progression that he made, everything like that, the heroes that he'd unlocked and all that, he didn't have access to them. And John, I think you pointed that out already, is that it's something that you can't actually like jump and bring everything over. So with that in mind, Alessander, I think that in all honesty, that the way that WoW is going right now and everything, if Blizzard were to just say, like, okay, hey, you have an account in, wherever you are or something, that you should at least have access to the game in another region. Because if I'm not mistaken, you should be able to, have a free account in another region up to level 20. But the only downfall with that is that you're limited on gold, so you wouldn't be able to, buy a WoW token or something like that, and you'd still have to buy the, EU version of the game in order to get into it. John, do you think that there's ever going to be a time where they're just going to say, hey, here it is, as long as you have an active subscription, go ahead and play?
I wouldn't be surprised if they do eventually get there. I think WoW is going in a direction that we're seeing with a lot of Blizzard games, where I wouldn't be surprised if kind of the core buy-in for WoW stops being, because right now, and it's been this way for a while, you have your buy-in as kind of like, well, you buy the World of Warcraft battle chest, and then you buy between 1 and 2 expansion packs for the game. Depending on where they're at in the cycle and all of that kind of depends on what is considered the battle chest, So I would not be surprised if eventually Blizzard considers the game, you buy whatever the expansion is, and the core WoW experience is available at all times to anybody for essentially free. And maybe if you're not subscribed, you're limited on how high into the content you can get, like it is right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if eventually they opened it up and like right now, if they said, okay, if you want to play vanilla WoW up to Mists of Pandaria, you can do that for the cost of paying for your monthly subscription. But if you want Warlords of Draenor, you're going to have to pay for that. And I think when they get to that point, it becomes easier for them to say, okay, well, let's remove any sort of region restrictions because it's only preventing them from paying, $30 or $40 for another version of the game for another region, and let's just let them go ahead and have access to it. But again, kind of starting over and all of that, this is really a quality of life thing. It's not going to really get you anything amazing, except have a little bit easier time if you do play in those regions where you want to maybe play with your friends and have an account in both places.
Yeah. Midneyet, would you ever just jump over and, play in the EU servers and everything if you had that potential?
Absolutely. Yes, but not for the reason maybe most people would. Well, first, I think it's a great idea because we all have friends increasingly around the world, so we can actually play with them now, which is a great option to have. Personally, I deal with a lot of social anxiety, believe it or not, and one thing that I actually miss from when I first started playing WoW, I know it's an MMO. I know people are like, you're playing an MMO, you're going to deal with people. Well, I actually really sometimes get nostalgic for when I first started and I didn't know anyone. And I could just play, I could just explore the world or, do whatever I want to do in the game without being, having that social element so much, being able to just zone out, put Netflix on or whatever and just play the game a little bit. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to do that now. I absolutely love all my friends. They, people that know me well totally understand what I'm saying, that sometimes I wish I had that like offline feature. And to me, this is almost like having that. Because if I lose the friends list, if I lose some of the other features, I can go and kind of like, make a level 1 character somewhere different and kind of, experience the WoW universe all over again in a different way, just on my own. So I hope that doesn't sound bad, but
no, not at all.
It would be refreshing to be able to have that option sometimes.
No, I'm with you on that. I mean, something about the BattleNet friends and everything like that. I get that. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't want to talk to my friends or anything, but every now and then I just want to totally zone out too. And just having a pure offline feature or something like that would help out a lot in those situations where you can just kind of be all like, meh, I'm good. Just kind of chill and everything. And then just show yourself as logged in whenever you're ready to, for lack of a better term, face the world.
Right. We all have bad days and we just want to blow off some steam by killing things, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you just don't want to have to deal with even someone just being nice and saying, hey, how's your day going or whatever. They mean well. They have no idea you've had like the worst day ever. And you feel bad. You don't want to, respond in a negative way and whatever. So just having that option to just play solo on your own, plus being able to play with, friends in different parts of the world you normally wouldn't be able to. Mm-hmm. I think it's a great idea and I hope they try it.
Yeah, I run into a similar anxiety when it comes to that. Some video games very much for me are kind of not necessarily an escape, doesn't feel like the right word, but I think that is the correct phrase, where it's just like I kind of want to just dive into this. I just kind of want to lose myself in it for a little while, or like you said, put on Netflix and kind of do a little multitasking, kind of watch a show while I'm doing something fun at the same time, and just have a good time with that. And for a while, I had a add-on called Wow I Am, which whenever anybody whispered me, it would pop up like a little chat window. And I thought this was really great for me because I notoriously ignore my chat while I'm in WoW. I have a very, very difficult time paying attention to it. I don't know why. It might be my UI, just I have it too small or too low on the screen and I'm just not paying attention to it. But before I had this, I would get people telling me all the time, I whispered you and you never wrote back. And, they did, but I just never looked down there and checked. So I thought, okay, I'll get this add-on. And then I started becoming aware of how often I get whispers or there are interactions that, I was maybe missing before. And it got to the point where I was starting to get sort of that same anxiety where it was like, it felt like a bit much. And it felt like, it felt like it was kind of beating me over the head with the chat, because you're playing and then all of a sudden a window pops up right in front. You're trying to kill something and all of a sudden, bloop, here's a big chat window. So I didn't really like the aesthetic to begin with. So I got rid of it. And so I guess also to anybody who whispers me and never hears back, sorry, I'm really, really bad at checking that.
That would be me.
Well, it's a lot more than just you, Ben, but yes.
I know.
Everybody kind of gets equally.
Yeah, so Ben,
ignored by
please
my
know
whisper.
John has now returned to not caring about the rest of us.
Okay.
So it's not just you.
Yeah.
I'm like,
So-
look, I know you're at the computer. We're in raid together. Why aren't you talking to me?
I don't know why I have such a hard time looking like down to the left and seeing like, oh, I got a whisper, but
Back to
for
the
some
left.
reason I've tried a lot of things too. Color of what my whispers are, because I thought maybe that like default purpley color was just maybe not noticeable enough to me.
Well, in the normal UI, you can set up your chat so that if you get a whisper, a second window will pop up, like it'll be another tab, and it flashes down there. That's how I have mine set up.
Maybe that's a
It
good
drives me
solution.
crazy. Like I have to use Wim, the add-on, for coordinating things like when I'm doing invites in CTR. So like I mean, there's no way I could live without that add-on anymore. But when it's sometimes if I'm in combat, it's still like it skips the Wim. The Wim stays like minimized or whatever, and then that other chat box still flashes, and it drives me crazy. And I like start to get angry with whoever it was that whispered me, like, "Why are you making this box flash?" It's terrible. I'm
Okay,
a
so
terrible
don't
person.
message you either. Fine. I'm just gonna go sit in my garrison and be all alone. No one wants to play with me.
We do, Ben. We do. We just want to play Heroes of the Storm with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go. Just because it's an MMO doesn't mean we want to actually be social.
Exactly. Which is really weird, but I totally get it. And I think everybody listening gets that too. I mean, there are just those times where it's like, hey, you know what? I've had a long day or whatever. Let's just chill today. Yeah.
Yeah, and to be fair, I've never had anybody like really get on my case about you never write back to me. So either I catch just enough for it to not be a super bad problem, or the people that whisper me are just nice people who understand.
Do they
Exactly.
just, if they're trying to reach you in game and they can't, do they just like reach you on Twitter or start texting you or, group me or whatever?
No, I don't think I've ever had anyone. I mean, if somebody needed something really bad, I have had Ben one time, and thank goodness he had multiple ways to try and reach me. Because
Yeah.
I won't say necessarily what it was, but there was something very important that Ben needed to get my attention on, and like it just happened to be one of those days where it was a quiet Saturday morning, and I was like, I'm gonna walk away from my phone. I don't need to be tethered to nothing. And then all of a sudden, I walked in and just had this weird feeling to check my phone. Checked my phone. I had like 87 messages from Ben. That's a gross exaggeration.
It like 3.
And then he had also like IM'd me and like any method he had been able to contact me, he had done.
I think I even sent you a message through Steam, and that never happens.
Yeah, I think
Wow,
he
you
did.
can do that?
Yeah, it was very important that he get that to me. I'm glad he did.
Yeah,
But
I was
yeah,
5
so
seconds away from knocking on your door, actually.
I think Ben's the only one who's ever gone like over the top, and it was in a very appropriate sense. So no, most people, I think, just I think with a lot of people, if you send a message and it doesn't go through, you assume, okay, maybe they're AFK, maybe they're busy, maybe they missed it. And so I think that, if it's something that's super important, I'm totally okay with people reaching out to me via Twitter or something like that. Just, I like hearing from people and talking to people. I just very easily miss it most of the time. So
Yeah. And I mean, in all honesty, whenever it happens with me with John, it's like, I know that you're just in to do your garrison, then you're leaving. Like, you'll pop in, I'll send you a message, and then I wait, and then I wait, then I wait. This is, Eos is logged off. I'm all, text.
yeah, that's true. I didn't even know you sent me messages during those little chunks of time.
Yeah, it happens sometimes.
Because, yeah, I do. I go in and I have that automatic, collect all things from your job queue from the garrison. I just log in, right-click the table, hit that button, it finishes. I'm like, all right, peace. Log out.
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody would have gotten me a message that fast.
Yeah, I try. But, yeah, so, cross realms and everything, or cross, not realms, because that already happens, cross regions.
Continental, global servers.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. The framework isn't in place for us to take our existing characters, but that doesn't mean that it can't in the future. I mean, heck, looking for dungeon, looking for raid, that stuff was new a while ago, and, we never thought that would happen, so... You know what? As
And
the game,
if you can copy your character into the PTR, why couldn't you copy it over to another zone of the world?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be a nice feature to have, especially for people like, we know a lot of folks. MacGyver. I can't think of any names right now. Leon MacGyver. Lita.
Spaz.
All of Australia.
Yeah. Although they're kind of, in the North American region, John.
Well, they are, but they also have characters that aren't they doing an Australian server?
They are.
Yeah, the Oceanic, right?
No, they have a specific Australian ones now.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. That's
let me collect my thoughts so that what I just said actually makes sense. There was some concern, which we discussed at BlizzCon a bit ago, because they announced that they were doing Australian servers, that it meant we were going to have to say goodbye to some of our friends that we had in-game, because, it makes sense. Hey, do I want to play on this super laggy US server, or do I want to play on this nice, shiny, sexy, sleek, and fast server that's local for us? And so there was some concern that, hey, does this mean the end of running with these friends of ours? And I think if they had something that would allow, easy transfer of characters between global servers and stuff like that, I think that becomes less of a fear.
Yeah. All right, cool. John, what's the next letter that we got?
The next letter, also from Alessander, is about nostalgia servers. Hi, John. Hello. Hi, Ben.
Hi.
Many years ago, EverQuest opened special classic servers at player request. These servers had the expansions locked until the current raid bosses had been defeated and had current game mechanics. They were popular enough to continue launching new classic servers now and then, as the others gradually became like any other server. Whenever it is brought up, Blizzard always insists that players would hate going back to true classic WoW with 5-minute paladin buffs and mages making water for hours, and dismisses the idea. But we can have the world without the old game mechanics, so might Morgard be able to talk them into it? And would you be interested? I really enjoyed the Anniversary Molten Core and Terran Mill vs. South Shore Anniversary, and I really dislike everything Cataclysm did to the world I loved. It would it would be work not spent on the next raid or next expansion, but not that much, surely, Alessander.
No, all they need to do is just grab one of the old hard drives and do a system restore. There you go.
Yeah,
Old world.
that's how it works, right? If they system restore the server, it just immediately goes back to classic WoW.
Oh man, can you imagine if they went and hunted down all those old server blades that they sold for auction for charity?
We need these back. We need classic servers. Please
How much you want to pay me to get them back?
I seriously considered bidding on one of those at one point.
Yeah, you did.
I don't know how much they sold for,
A
but
lot.
I thought about buying a Dark Spear server blade, because that's where I started. So, okay. Let's talk about nostalgia servers. First of all, let's talk about the EverQuest servers. They're not called classic servers, at least in the context that she's talking about. And they're called progression servers. That's what it is. So the idea is that you log into the game and it's essentially in, what would be vanilla state. As people down the final boss of the expansion, once they meet whatever the criteria is, it then unlocks, the Kunark expansion and then the Velius expansion and on and on and on until it becomes current EverQuest. This is a really cool idea that actually got me to re-download EverQuest, although I haven't logged in or anything yet. But it comes with a couple caveats, and they talk about it in the EverQuest servers as well. It is very difficult for them to build framework that allows the server to automatically update major overhaul features. What that means is that when it is in what would be the vanilla or basic mode, there are still a lot of things in the game that mimic what current EverQuest looks like, as opposed to what it actually looked like at the time. There is a thing called Project 1999, which is a genuine classic EverQuest server. I believe it is the first two expansions and the original game, and it is exactly as it was at that point in the game. Nothing after that, and it's just that content. So there's kind of two different things we're talking about here with progression and classic, because one is the idea of it can contain modern elements as needed and as appropriate, and the other is, nope, it is exactly what we had at the time back in the day. Midneyet, do you have any preferences? Like, do either of these sound good to you?
I think that it would be interesting to have the classic servers. Having not played during that time, I only started playing in the middle of Cataclysm, so I've heard of all. I always hear all these people, nostalgic for, playing through content and having talent trees, back at those levels, or at that time, and it would be fun to experience it in that way, so that I really get what people are talking about, and not just like, oh yeah, I can kind of relate and understand, but if you didn't live through that, you don't really know. So I guess for those reasons, it would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think the big question, because we will eventually get to this, and this is where a lot of times this falls apart. As cool as it would be to go back and check out, especially for you, a player that, maybe missed a lot of that earlier content before it was changed, do you think it's the kind of thing you would stick with, or do you think it would be the kind of thing that you tried out and said, oh, this is neat, and then went back to playing modern, current WoW?
I would assume just what you said, that I would go check it out, kind of like the anniversary events that were going on, which I did do all of them, and it was fun to sort of be a part of that, old school stuff, but I don't know, unless I really, really loved some of the elements that I found there, it would depend on what they did with it. It would depend on my reaction to it, coming from, I guess, a modern mind frame. So it would all depend on how well it was taken care of, probably, and what kind of what was there.
Well, what
And
class
who else
do you
was there
play?
too? My main is Shadow Priest. It's always been Shadow Priest. I only fully leveled Ret Pally and Windwalker Monk last summer. So for the first 4.5 years of playing, it was Shadow Priest all the time with a bunch of alts that I mess around with every now and then. But yeah, so I hear Shadow Priest was fun back in the day, and see, that's part of why I'm really curious about it.
Well, let me tell you something. You wouldn't be playing your Ret Paladin at all.
Right?
Like, at all. From what I hear, no.
Well, it depends on how many expansions in we are. Well, no, because I'm assuming she's playing Horde, and that was something that I shouldn't assume. If we're talking strictly vanilla WoW and your Horde, you're definitely not playing your Paladin, because
Right.
It didn't
can't.
exist.
So you're either definitely not playing Paladin, or you're definitely not playing Shaman.
And you're probably not playing your Ret Paladin because, from what I've heard, Paladins were there for just buff management over and over again. Like, you just
Right.
keep casting buffs on everybody, and that's how you play the game, even as Ret.
They weren't super great. And their PvP tactic was Bubble Hearth.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a reason it's a joke, because it happened a lot. Where, I guess, for those of you who don't know, because it's possible, I say Bubble Hearth and I'm like, yeah, everybody should know what that is. Back in the day, Paladin damage output was such that they would pretty much be in a losing battle in a PvP fight a lot of the time.
Yeah, no matter
frequently.
who. No matter who.
And so, in fact, let me also, if you want to know how bad it is, one of the set bonuses for Paladin armor lowered the cooldown time on your Hearthstone.
Really?
Yes, that was a set item perk. So what they would do is, at the time, they could throw up a bubble shield around them. They can still do this, but it worked a little bit different.
Mhm.
It made them completely immune from all damage for whatever the amount of time was, and it happened to be long enough for them to cast their Hearthstone. So you would catch them out on their own in a PvP server. You'd start attacking them, and then once it became clear they weren't going to win the fight, they would throw up their bubble and they would Hearthstone away. And
Okay, if it was that much of a joke, why was there any explanation for why they were so weak at that time?
it was just kind of the Wild West. And I mean, it wasn't that they were necessarily weak, because they could take you down, because you essentially had to kill them twice. Because if they had Lay on Hands,
Right.
you would get them all the way down, and then boom, they'd shoot right back up, and they'd win in a war of attrition, essentially. But then the cooldown on Lay on Hands was so long that once that was blown, the result after that was, Hearth away. And I do think they did end up they either changed the set bonus, or just, they got away from that design. They made them viable. If you want to ask conspiracy theorists, a lot of people say they made them viable just in time for them to become a Horde class as well. But I mean, it was interesting days. There are a ton of interesting things and stories and stuff that come from the classic days of World of Warcraft. Ben, you got in Burning Crusade, late in Burning Crusade, so you were very near the ground floor, but,
Yeah.
You still missed a little bit. Would you have any interest in a classic server?
Well, yes and no. Okay, so here's the thing. Talking about the anniversary edition or anniversary stuff that happened, Molten Core, Terran Mill, all that stuff. First of all, Terran Mill versus South Shore. I mean, as a battleground, it kind of works because you're just throwing yourselves at each other. The rubber band mechanic is horrible, but we're not going to talk about that. We did on our episode forever ago. So seeing the world like that was kind of cool. It's like, hey, there's South Shore. Woohoo. Molten Core, I think that's kind of more what Alessandra is talking about, because it was the old, raid, but with the new mechanics. Because I went in there as a fire mage. Now, back in Burning Crusade, our guild did go into Molten Core. We wanted to clear it and everything for fun. And this is back when we had to actually farm Hydraxian Waterlord rep in order to get the things to do the runes. And we didn't have enough to actually complete the raid that one night. And even then, I walked in as fire. And you know what? Every single thing there was immune to my damage. I was a fire mage. That's all fire stuff. It didn't work. So I had Frostbolt, because back then mages got Frostbolt, Arcane Blast, and, Fireball, and Arcane Missiles, like everything, because that's just how things were built. And so I had to use stuff that was my off-spec. Oh, wait. No, off-specs didn't exist back then either.
Nope.
So I was in there as fire, shooting Frostbolt, doing barely any damage, and then John ran up next to me and then blew up and killed us both. And then ended up wiping the raid. That's a story for a different day. So yeah, people, John has been doing this ever since I've known him in-game.
I was going to say, I'm not at all surprised to hear this.
Yeah. But, I mean, and that's the thing. When we went back in, using Raid Finder, or, in the 40-man group that Ro put together, 3 times? I did that 3 times?
I don't know how you did that 3
I don't
times.
know. But, so we go in
it was
there.
Awful.
Yeah, it was, like... And, I mean, we had a set group. It was AIE. We went in there as a full group. And it was just a long slog fest. There's so much trash. Yeah, I was fire and I was able to kill stuff, but it was not that much fun. The fun that we had was just joking about how trivial the content kind of was, and at one point we were talking about what our favorite Christmas movies were, things like that, because it was just, it didn't matter.
Well, let me throw this out there. In defense of Molten Core, as it existed in the early days of Yarr, Molten Core was not meant to be run in a single slog through the raid.
Oh, yeah.
It was meant to be, it was meant to be your week or whatever in WoW. And so it being big and kind of long and drawn out, which it definitely is, was less of a deal when you knew you were going to be raiding 4 nights a week, because also none of us had lives at that point, and we raided a lot more often than we do. But it was one of those things where that anniversary Molten Core was not fun.
It was an eye-opener for a lot of people to say, hey, take those rose-colored glasses off.
But I also don't feel like it was also an accurate representation of what that content was.
No, and I agree for the reasons that I said. I could actually do damage, things like that. It's a feeling that I don't think we'd be able to get back with the current mechanics and everything. And that's one of the reasons why I personally don't think that's going to work in that sense. Now, moving away from like raiding and things like that, I do wish that there was a way for us to see the old world, before the Cataclysm, see the quests and everything like that. Granted, it's not as good a content as the Cataclysm stuff. I mean, personally, I haven't completely leveled through Cata, just because I didn't start from 1. But, I mean, the story progression and everything is just that. It's more story. It's more, here's your questing group area. You do these quests, finish those, then it sends you to this next area. Whereas, Vanilla, Burning Crusade, Lich King, all that old world content, before you leave Azeroth at first, is here's a whole bunch of quests, figure out where they are. There's nothing to help you with that. Read the quest text, and it can kind of sometimes tell you where you need to be. I mean, it was a lot harder and, a lot more in-depth of actually going out and really nitpicking everything to get what you want. And don't get me started on drop rates of, like, Zephyr Hooves in the Barrens, because that's just...
It doesn't make any sense either.
They have 4 hooves, and you'd be lucky if you killed 10 of them and you got 2.
Yeah, something doesn't compute there.
These hoofless zebras. Yeah, the questing was really, really bad in the vanilla days, and it has gotten better. There is less of an open world feeling, I think, to the Cataclysm content that does bum me out to a little bit, and I don't think that every revamped zone has come out as a win. I am not overly fond of the new Thousand Needles. Like, seeing it flooded is a very cool and impactful moment, but the questing there I don't find to actually be particularly great.
I agree. You get a boat, though.
You do get a little boat.
I have actually never seen it not flooded.
And see, that's why I think it would be cool. I think Blizzard should put an item in the game. I'm going to say this casually as if it's no work at all, and why haven't they already done this? We always make the joke that our buddy Ro should get an item in the game. A pair of colored glasses named after him, and they would be rose-colored glasses. And I think when you equip them, you should see the game as it appeared in vanilla.
Well, here's the thing. What is it? Blasted Lands. There's a Caverns of Time, like Gold Dragon NPC standing by the border of the zone. You talk to them, and you can look at it before the Draenor invasion. Talk to them again.
Same for Theramore.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a way to see that content. If they were to able, what the hell am I saying? If they
You're turning into a troll.
I am. If they were to able, okay. If Blizzard was able to do something to at least allow everybody to see that type of content, if anything, just to see, what the Barrens was like before it got split in half. Like, Midneyet, did you know that Barrens was actually just one zone?
It probably took me the first 6 or 9 months of playing to figure out all the changes. I had no idea were changes.
Oh, yeah. Like Desolus?
And, there was a park in Stormwind. I had no idea. I was like, this is just,
what's this crappy area here?
Rubble.
This looks like a safety hazard. Right?
Yeah, like, Desolus is the worst named zone. It's like, why is it so green?
Desolus, the verdant jungle of Azeroth. Yeah, it's weird. And a lot of the Cataclysm stuff traded very heavily on the it's like what you remember, but different. And now when we get into an era where we've got a lot of people who have come in that maybe have not seen, pre-Cata content, there's kind of this weird, okay, you did a lot of world building for stuff that I have no nostalgia or knowledge for. I don't see why it's a big deal that this Tauren village is burned down, and I don't see why there's a giant scar down the middle of the Barrens as being a big deal. And, like you pointed out, Desolus is super green. What a weird name for this place. And then you could go and say, hey, Silithus looks like a shitty hellhole. Let's see what that was like before Cataclysm and discover that it was, in fact, always a shitty hellhole.
Yeah.
That's reassuring to know. I have to admit, I am now curious about what Desolus was like before, because, again, it's always been that way for me.
Well, the gray areas of Desolus where it's just gray and rocky?
Oh, yeah.
That's what
like that, but through the entire zone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have always been very staunchly against Blizzard, as I would say, and I did almost slipped out as just my default answer, wasting their time with this content. And to a degree, I still feel it would be. If it would take away from the stuff that they're working moving forward, I do agree that it's probably not the best investment of time. But if they could possibly find a way to carve it out with, the teams that they have to figure it out, I think there is a place for maybe throwing up a server, let people know it's not going to be supported.
Weird noises,
Whoa.
Sorry. Okay, we're good.
All right, Ben?
Yeah, I moused over a window and it started playing sound. Sorry.
Okay. Well, if it helps, I was talking, so they didn't hear it until, the very end.
Yeah. When someone was like,
Hi. So, anyway, I think it would be a cool thing to exist. I don't know if I would want to see a progression server for WoW. For a while, I felt like I would want to. But I feel like maybe there's a place for classic servers, maybe say we're going to do Vanilla and Burning Crusade because very little of the core game changed in that period of time, and go with that, or maybe even throw in Lich King as well as your, big content. But just say we're going to devote it to that era of the game. That's it. We're not going to support it, but you guys can go and play on it and have a good time. But, it's very easy to say that very casually and not know exactly how much work that entails for them.
True. Like I said, they need to hunt down those old servers and just, system restore. There we go.
Well, and here's the reality. I would like them to come to terms maybe with some of these unofficial classic servers that are out there and maybe work out a deal where, okay, you guys cannot profit off the game. You can profit off your own merchandising, advertisements for your site, whatever you want. You cannot profit off of World of Warcraft. That belongs to us, but we will support you in letting you, put this up as a site too, and here's a free-to-play classic version of WoW.
Yeah.
I think that's actually what EverQuest does with Project 1999. I think there was a court case and they came to terms and said, okay, well, here's what you are and are not allowed to do, and go out there and do it, and do it, and put it in the fans' hands. Because if you care that much about it, you can go and find it that way.
So, Midneyet, any closing vanilla, weird, random mechanic stuff that you want to talk about?
Nothing else that I can think of. I think it would be interesting to experience, but yeah, I'm not sure how long I would spend time living back in that era when there's hopefully new content available.
Yeah. And me personally, I wouldn't spend a lot of time back there at all, if any, honestly. John?
I mean, leveling up would be exciting again, because you'd get something every level.
Good point.
But then you'd also remember you have to go talk to a trainer every time you get new abilities, and how difficult it was to afford to do that.
Good point. Good point. Well, with that, I think it's time for a little Celebrity Murloc Theater.
Celebrity Murloc Theater.
This is from Spaz Wesson. He says, "G'day, guys. Hey, Ben and John. Been wanting to send in a Murloc Theater for a while, and, well, Cards Against Humanity has given me an idea, so here's a short Murloc Theater, and, well, I'll just let the Murloc tell you what's going on. Love the show, Spaz Wesson." And without further ado, here is Spaz Wesson's Murloc.
You must construct additional...
Yeah, you need to.
Short and sweet and to the point.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Thank you, Spaz. That is fantastic. I really love that.
Yes, thank you. It was very good. Really quick, before we finish off, there is a little bit of feedback that John and I do want to address, just because, well, it's our shows, and we can. So...
you tell him, Ben.
Yeah, that's right. This is actually from on our website, AzerothRoundtable.com. You can actually put comments in there. We do read them when you do put them. We don't always address them just because, well, we've gotten to the point where we get a lot of mail and we can't address all of them, so sorry. But this one, I think, John, you and I agreed, it is probably something that we just want to address really quick. It is a very fast thing. So,
is that your way of telling me, hey, John, don't go 10 minutes about it?
Pretty much.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. So, this is submitted by, and I quote, "Nobody Special."
Yes, that is the name they picked, everybody. We're not making fun of this person.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It says, "You lost a sub. An entire episode bemoaning the loss of flying? I could handle about an hour of it when I finally got fed up and unsubbed. I doubt they'll keep flying out for future subs. It is unfortunate that I can't fly around the world, but rather than complaining, I'm more curious as to why they made this decision. Is it because the new zone they're implementing would have an invisible wall attached? Try flying into the jungle with a rocket and parachute. The wall is silly. or because they wanted to avoid the winter grasp insta-dismount when they open the jungle? Is it because level designers optimize the world to look good from the ground, and when you hit a short flight on a rocket, you're not loading as much as you would if you were flying? As a PvP... God, seriously, I can't do super long days anymore like this. Yeah, that's my sister calling. As a PvP player, I love no flying. It's introduced world PvP to the game. It is a great side effect. I also don't mind not flying because I'm mostly at my garrison or Ashran, to which I have a portal in my garrison if I'm not raiding. Count me as one of the players who trust Blizzard, which by your claim makes me as bad as someone who takes the game far too serious, because I'm still finding fun in the game, and the mobs of loudmouths and children podcasting and crying for nearly 2 hours about not flying are more a squeaky wheel than I care to be. I think I read that sentence wrong, but whatever.
I mean, I want to comment, but I tuned out after 2 paragraphs. I couldn't stand 4 paragraphs of whining about our show. No, okay, that was a joke, but I was making a slight point with it. I appreciate the feedback, good or bad, whether you're going to challenge us or not. I think getting upset because we devoted an episode to flying and then going on to give us your opinion on flying is a little silly. It shows that there's clearly an interest and a desire to talk about. So I would say rather than being upset that we talked about flying for an episode, what you're really upset about is that you don't agree with us, which is fine.
Yeah.
You have every right to disagree with us, and I'm happy when people disagree with us because I don't want to do your thinking for you. Do your own damn thinking.
And
so,
even more so, we are perfectly fine with you, not listening. We're not for everybody. That's cool.
yeah, if you come out of our show getting upset or mad and have nothing beneficial from it, you didn't laugh, you didn't have a good time, you don't feel like you're enjoying the game because of it, yeah, go somewhere else. That is totally fine. But, I don't think this was necessarily the most constructive or pleasant way to say it. I think there's definitely places in here where it feels like he's just trying to be kind of nasty, and that's fine. You can get nasty with us, but I also think that basically you're upset because we don't agree with you, and we're not gonna agree with you. So that's our opinion, and I would say see you later, but we're probably not gonna.
Yeah. Well, one last thing I want to say is, and I quote, I also don't mind not flying because I'm mostly at my garrison or Ashran. That was my point.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we kind of wish flying was back.
Yeah.
But that just shows what is a pro for some is a con for others. That's
Exactly.
the way this whole great debate works. And I do want to say before we move on to our next piece of feedback, we have received a ton of feedback from people through Twitter, through email and whatnot, basically saying that, hey, we really appreciate that even though Ben and I and Alessander on the last show all kind of had the same opinion about it, we didn't try to be disrespectful to people who like the fact that there's not going to be any flying. I think a big part of that is that we all three kind of agree it has its place in time, and that in our opinions personally, we just feel that that time has passed. But most people said, we presented it in a fair, honest way, even if they didn't feel like necessarily their voice was being represented as maybe 100% pro not flying. To those people, I will say this. Don't be afraid to write in and let us know what your exact stance is. If you feel like we're not representing your voice, send in your voice, and we will either have you on the show to express it, read the email on the show to express it, or acknowledge it in some way. We do not, as this letter will show, only read and share the stuff that we agree with.
Exactly. And for our comments on all of the different episodes and everything, we have to approve them in order for them to show up. I approve this, no questions asked. I didn't even say, hey, John, what do you think? It's like, no, that's exactly what someone feels and thinks, and yeah, that's how we take it.
Yeah.
John, there's someone else who wrote in about the no flying.
Yeah, speaking of people who don't agree with us.
Specifically you, all the time.
Oh, I love Spanky Hunter. He's great. It's funny that I know a lot of... There's a couple listeners, Spanky Hunter, Assy, I don't know if that's how you actually say his name. I heard him on another I heard him on another podcast, and that's what they called him, and I was like, well, maybe if I say it that way, it's not going to be bad, but there's still a part of me that feels like I just shouldn't say it that way. But anyway, both of them have a tendency well, Spanky has a tendency to just have a different opinion than me. Assy has a tendency to just flat out try to insult me and bust my chops from time to time. And as a result, I really like interacting with both of them. I don't know what that says about me, but I do. I like people who don't just say, well, John said it, so it must be true.
If you want to interact with John, make sure to, insult him first.
No, hold on now.
John likes a challenge, confirmed.
Just because I get along with people who disagree with me sometimes does not mean that I encourage it. I actually really like when people agree with me too. But I think to me, and especially with Spanky Hunter, he just has a tendency to challenge my view. He's a different perspective, and as such, that makes him very interesting to me because he approaches things different from most people we interact with. And so here's what he has to say after our last episode. He says, "Hey guys, an awesome guest."
That's you, Midneyet.
He knew you were going to be on
Awesome.
Midneyet,
Oh.
and he already thinks you're awesome. Just thought I'd drop a quick note. After spending about 2 hours trying to write this out, I gave up and decided to go with this. In regards to the whole flight thing, when Blizzard has a design change, there's a reason for it. They don't just sit there in their HQ saying, how can we cop, abuse, and F with our players today? He didn't say F. But I feel bad for Ben because he's tired and I don't want to make him bleep.
Thanks.
They always have an idea in mind. Remember, they plan expansions usually 2 ahead of the current one, so my guess is something they want to do isn't possible with Flight being available. We don't know what that is yet. Hopefully pirate expansion. I also wonder what effect the new lead designer, Steve Donaser...
I'm going with Dan User, because that's just... It's like Tron.
Steve Dan User had on the decision. He has worked on EQ Next and Landmark. The timing of the decision is interesting to me as it came shortly after he started. In the end, only time will tell what is happening. I will keep playing with my guild and my girlfriend. This is the most important thing to me. WoW is best played when playing with others. For me, WoW is as boring as watching paint dry when I play solo. Just remember that behind that character is a person. No matter what your stance is on flying or other stuff, abuse is not acceptable. Respect the differences, because if we are all the same, it would be boring. Keep up the awesome shows. Regards, Spanky Hunter.
Hold on, just really quick, I'd like to say I find it funny that we got that after Nobody Special posted.
It is. I don't think it is a response to Nobody Special. But
I know it's not. It's just ironic.
It is weird. Because I also know for a fact that Spanky Hunter does not agree with the we want flying back. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting perspective and take to have two people who basically agree and the ways they both approached it.
Yeah.
But this leads me to something that I wanted to kind of mention to you guys. There was a quote that I don't remember which CM put up, but it's a quote of Henry Ford. I think that's his name. The guy at Ford Motor Company.
The guy who made the Ford?
Yeah, the guy who made cars.
Yeah, Henry Ford.
Not the movie. The thing. It's really late, guys. This is the latest we've ever had to record a regular show. We're all tired. It's fine. Henry Ford. That's the guy. And the quote is something to the effect of, if I had asked the people what they wanted, they would have asked for faster horses. And the idea behind it is that sometimes you don't know what you actually want. Sometimes there's a better way. It's the difference between innovation versus just building upon what you have. And I thought it was a really good quote. And it makes me really hopeful for the future of WoW. Because, like when we were talking about the pirate expansion that they totally have to do.
Yes, they do.
There are ways that they can make a WoW expansion where I would be probably okay. If they want to show me the automobile and say, see, you didn't even know you wanted this, but you totally want it. I totally believe that can happen. I have strong faith in Blizzard. I respect them as a company for as critical of an eye as I have for their properties and things like that. I respect the hell out of them. I don't think that Warlords of Draenor is the automobile compared to other expansions being a horse. I don't think that they have hit that point with the current expansion. But I am hopeful that perhaps that's going to be coming in the future, and maybe this whole issue will be a moot point by then, because we will have seen a better way.
Yes. Midneyet, anything you'd like to add to the whole thing?
I have a lot of thoughts on flying, but I'm not going to go into them because we're not doing that. But to put it simply, I miss flying desperately, but I get that it's a game. It's a game. If I don't like it, I don't have to play it, so I go play Heroes instead. Where I also have, a winged character that can't fly, but that's beside the point. So, it's a game, and yeah, I like Spanky Hunter's take on it. I think that's a very mature stance to, try to get along with everybody and try to have faith that, the company as a whole knows what they're doing. They have much more knowledge about this than we do. So maybe there's something really, really amazing coming up. All of us don't necessarily like change, but sometimes, we take the stance of change is always going to be bad. Sometimes change turns out to be amazingly good, and we just had no idea that was coming down the road. So, I don't know, let's try to be optimistic, and, I don't know, I always think about that Rolling Stones song, you don't always get what you want, but sometimes you get what you need, and you don't even know that's what you need until you let that time pass and see how the issue is going to resolve itself. So I guess that's my main thought on this right now.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. I think that's a good way to look at it. Now, I think in both the Spanky Hunter and Nobody Special's case, I think it's important to let your voice be heard. Blizzard will make the best choice that they feel for the game, but they don't know what everybody is thinking all the time. They can look at data, they can make guesses, but unless you tell them how you feel, and I don't care if it's about flying, if it's about the food buffs, if it's about pandas, whatever, they don't know unless you tell them. Now, if they don't agree with you, that doesn't mean they're not listening to you. But the only way they can listen to you is if you tell them. So, for anybody...
That is specifically what you were trying to say last episode. You weren't insulting our listeners. You were trying to get that point across.
Yes, because he did call me out a little bit on that. I was trying to convey that no matter where you stand on the fence, let your voice be heard. It's important because what if, and this is just a hypothetical scenario, what if Blizzard was totally caught off guard by how against them saying no flying people were? I know that's not true, but let's just, for the sake of debate, say that's the case. So they decide, okay, well, we need to bring flying back. Now everybody who sat there and said, yeah, go Blizzard, this was a great decision, and didn't say anything about it, now you're not getting what you want. So now you have to kind of reactively go and say, no, wait, you were making the right decision. I think one of the best things we can do as players is, and I would encourage, here's your homework, everybody. Get on the forums. Somebody start a thread. Start multiple threads if you want. Well, maybe don't do that. You might get in trouble. And tell Blizzard what you like about the game right now.
In a respectful way, though.
Yes.
Hey, jerks, I really like pet battles. F you.
All caps.
I love pet battles. Die in a fire. Get on there and say what you do like. Let them know the things that you feel like they're doing right. Let's have them work on a game that's not reactive to the negative. Let's have them make a game that's also proactive to the positive. So that's your homework assignment. Some of you may know I wrote my thoughts on flying. I'm going to go ahead and follow my own advice. I'm going to write something in the coming weeks, basically saying what I really like about the game, because I think it's just as important that they know that as well.
Yeah. You know what I really like?
What do you really like, Ben?
This really nice, soft, comfortable shirt I'm wearing right now.
Well, you cut out, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, the recording got it, but I'll say it again for your benefit.
Okay.
I really like this nice, comfortable shirt I'm wearing right now.
Okay, I'm glad the recording got it, because what I heard was almost kind of vulgar, but
Oh,
that's beside the point.
I like that too.
Okay. Yeah, and what is it of?
Well, it is actually, it's a black shirt, and on it, Midneyet, you're not going to believe this, but on my shirt right now is a Murloc holding a microphone.
That is truly shocking.
I can hear it in your voice. You're extremely shocked.
I'm so shocked I'm speechless.
I know. Do you want to know how you can shock other people with your shirt, John?
By taking it off.
That's one way. But another way is going to /loot.com. You can actually click on podcasts and get your very own Azeroth Roundtable shirt with a Murloc with a mic on it.
That sounds fantastic, Ben. I'm going to head on over to /loot.com and get one today.
Yay.
And when I'm done with that, I'm going to log on to youtube.com/AzerothRT and watch some videos wearing my shirt.
You can also wear a necklace or have a pendant on your keys that is of a Murloc with a mic, and you can get that from geekasylum.etsy.com.
We call it the trifecta, and it's awesome.
Yeah. So, Midneyet, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. I really appreciate it, and you're a bunch of fun.
Well, it's been a lot of fun hanging out with you guys last night and tonight, so I appreciate you having me on.
Of course. We're definitely going to get together and play Heroes more often when, I'm not just coming home and super tired from working
Right.
all day or being at a con or something like that. But in the meantime, where can people find you?
Well, I can be found on Twitter at Midneyet, MIDNEYET, and on the Realm of Books podcast at realmofbookspodcast.com. Next up, we're going to be posting our discussion about Insurgent, the second book in the Divergent series, and after that, we're going to work on the Mistborn series. So, if anybody's reading that, we look forward to comments on both of those. And I'm helping plan a summer Midwest meetup at the Bristol Renaissance Fair in southern Wisconsin on the border. So if anybody is in the Chicago or any of, Illinois or Midwest area in general, head over to my Twitter feed, and I have the link to the information pinned at the top, because we'd love to actually meet some more people outside of the game.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
John, how about you? Where can people find you?
If you want to find more from me, you can follow me on Twitter. That's at John, Jon_Jagger, Jagger. You can catch me on this show. You can catch me on the NVIDIA stream from 3 to 6 p.m. every Saturday along with Scott Johnson. And you can also catch more content from me on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/AzerothRT.
If you're looking for me, I'm Ben, by the way. You can find, I really hope you know that
Hi,
by
Ben.
now.
Hi, I'm Ben. Hello.
If you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter. I am at @AlTheMage. I also do a show with Eludra called Geek Battle Pets. Like I said, long day.
Geek Battle Pets.
It's just called Battle Pets. But I do a show with
Put
Lita.
leashes around geeks and make them fight each other.
Oh boy.
We'll talk about that on my con episode on Geektopia, which I do with Alakaz and Lita. So check out both those shows. If you have any comment, John, finish the show. I can't talk anymore.
Hey everybody, if you want to send us your feedback, there are many ways with which you can do it. You can tweet us at AzerothRT on Twitter. You can email us, AzerothRoundtable@gmail.com. You can leave us your own messages, as others have, at AzerothRoundtable.com, which also houses the show. You can listen to it right there on our webpage, so you can comment and listen in real time. If you don't want to listen on the website, you can also catch us on Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, and replays on Alpha Geek Radio. In addition to all of that, our intro contains music from Volatile Reaction by Kevin MacLeod, and you can find more of his music at incompetech.com.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Whenever you want, really.
Okay. This is Midneyet.
Now, don't worry
from the
about
Realm
John
of-
interrupting you or anything, because
Good God.
he does that sometimes, but...
I want to, see, this is where I need video, because I want to just throw stuff at you right now. Like I'm not nervous enough.
Well, look, you're just talking to me and John. There's no reason to be
I know.
nervous.
Yeah,
I
no
know,
need to be
and I'm
nervous.
grateful for that tonight, to be honest.
And look, I sound like I'm, totally drunk and slurring and stuff, so trust me, you're going to sound great.
Yeah, Ben's drunk and slurring, and I've been podcasting for 3.5 hours already
That's
today,
true.
plus the stream that was last night, so I'm as, jet-lagged, podcast version of jet-lagged as a person can be. You're just talking
You're
about
just-
You're just warmed up, John. You're warmed up. The rest of us are catching up.
This doesn't feel like warmed up. It feels like on the verge of collapse.
You know, no one is forcing you to do this.
I'm forcing me.
Okay.
I'm forcing me.
This podcast recorded before a live internet audience. To learn how to listen and watch live, visit tunein.alphageekradio.com.
Azeroth Roundtable is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, Non-Derivative, Unported license. For more information, go to creativecommons.org.